Let's put this into perspective. The arrival in Australia of the Olympic torch is momentous. It is an occasion, an event, the greatest of adventures. It is history being made. June the 8th, 2000, a date our children, our grandchildren and beyond will learn at school. How, on this day, at Uluru in Australia's Red Centre, the torch arrives from Olympia, just 100 days short of the Games of the 27th Olympiad. Our Games. The day Australia and its people in the 21st century first see the brightest of lights, the strongest of symbols, and feel an energy and excitement beyond belief. All cultures and ages becoming part of something bigger than themselves. From the simple connection of two individuals as the torches pass from one to the next, to the sharing of the spirit of the torch relay. Welcome, behold, and remember. And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Uluru Katajuta National Park. What a place it is this morning. What an historic day it is for Australia and for Nova Peris-Kneebone, who will make the long run in about a half an hour's time with the beginning of the Sydney 2000 torch relay. And good morning to Stan Grant from Today Tonight. I couldn't think of a more appropriate place to be, Stan, on this morning.
Fantastic. You know, they call this the dead heart, but it's not dead, is it? It's absolutely alive. And you only have to stay here throughout the day and see the changing colour of the rock as the sun hits it and the sun rises and sets in the night to know that this place is very alive and spiritually very alive. Significant that the torch relay starts today.
It might sound like a cliche, but the rock does have a life of its own and an energy that's very, very special. The world's media are here today, as you would expect they are. It's been such a build-up, hasn't there, all week here in Uluru?
It's fantastic, isn't it? And this week, I think very significant that they come here too. For a lot of these people, I spoke to some of the people in the media yesterday. This is the first visit to Australia, and what a wonderful place to see Australia for the first time from here at Uluru.
We're very close to Lassiter Highway. We're basically at the foot of Uluru, and this is where Nova Peris-Kneebone will be making her run with the torch.
And there's the
sunset. Yes, there is the plane, the Airbus 320, the Ansett Airbus 320, which has come in from Auckland this morning on this historic flight with the flame.
Captain Mark Reinflesch is the pilot. You know, they say any landing is a good landing, but today will be extra special, won't it?
I'm sure he's a bit nervous today, like a lot of other people in Uluru, because he would have made a lot of flights, but none quite like this.
How is the torch transported? It's carried in a capsule, isn't it, Bruce?
Yeah, torch cradle, and it sits in business class alongside some backups in case the flame goes out.
Dangerous goods, they call it?
They do call it dangerous goods, and there's an air expert, a safety expert with the flame all the way through. And to think that this is the first time that the flame would have arrived on Australian soil in 44 years. You were in Olympia not too long ago.
It was magnificent to be there, and even more special, I think, to be here today and see it touch down on our soil. And there it is.
Great pictures, aren't they?
Touching down now. Fantastic.
So it has safely arrived. Sir William Dean and Lady Dean and some other dignitaries will be there waiting for it. And in not too long, the flame will exit the plane and then go into a convoy and make its way out to the sunset viewing area.
Bruce, I have the mission statement here. I might just take a moment just to read this. The mission statement from SOCOG. The Olympic Games is about being part of something bigger than yourself, sharing the history, spirit, ceremony and tradition of the most enduring and admirable human event of all time. And the torch relay literally and figuratively embodies this sense of sharing. Yeah, that's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, that's something. It's cold here today. A lot of people ask how cold it is. It's probably 2 or 3 degrees at the moment.
Well, I'm not taking this jacket off.
It got to freezing overnight. We are expecting it to get to 15. That's not going to happen in the next couple of hours, I can assure you of that. Well, it's been a journey, hasn't it? A 39,000-kilometre journey through 11 countries on its way from Olympia to Uluru, the torch. And you were in Olympia in May when it all started.
Oh, a wonderful moment there in Olympia, a very sacred place, a very spiritual place, and where 3,000 years ago the first flame was lit. And of course it made its way from Olympia over a 10 or 11-day journey through to Athens, where it was passed into Australian hands. It passed through various places that were significant to ancient Greece, and one of the places I had the benefit of going and sharing in was a place called Kalavrita. Kalavrita was a place that was the first liberated from the Turks, the first part of Greece liberated from the Turks. It was also a place during the war where the Germans wiped out all the male population of the town, but they've survived.
Well, there's so much history about all of this, isn't there? And emotion today, and then into Guam and through Oceania. And what a hotbed that's become. Solomon Islands accepted the torch. Fiji wasn't given the opportunity. With all the problems that have occurred there over the last 20 days, and the Solomon Islands, it's made its way through to New Zealand and now here.
You can only hope that some of that spirit of the torch that goes through leaves some peace in its wake rather than destruction that we have seen.
Absolutely. We'll take a break, and when we come back after the break, the flame will be exiting that Ansett Airbus 320.
The first look at it here, Bruce. The flame being brought onto Australian soil, as you said before, for the first time in 44 years.
Anna Booth, the so-called board member from the trade union movement, and behind her, Captain Mark Rindfleisch. So what a moment for them. But yeah, Melbourne 1956, the last time that the flame had arrived on Australian soil. So this is the first time it's been in Australian hands on Australian soil in 44 years.
And it's part of the longest torch relay in Olympic history, isn't it?
It sure is. 100 days for a start. Atlanta was at 84 days. The very first in Berlin was just a dozen days. In fact, Montreal was only 4 days. I don't know how the Japanese did it, but they had 100,000 torch bearers over 20 days in 1964. I don't know how they managed that.
I wonder how the Greeks are going to do it in Athens in 2004, because it won't have far to go, will it?
It won't have quite the territory that we've got. So for Sir William Dean, I mean, 15 years ago, another Governor-General was here, Sir Ninian Stephen, in the biggest day in history in Uluru, with the handing over the land rights.
Oh, it's a wonderful day. And as we said before, very significant that it comes back to the Rock today. I think made even more so when you think about the 250,000 people who walked across the bridge at Sydney Harbour a couple of weeks ago in support of reconciliation. And this just gathers more momentum. You mentioned before the international media here, and I think it's a wonderful thing for them to come here and see such a united front, and how something as simple as an Olympic flame can help bring about reconciliation between people.
Philip Ruddock is there, the Minister of Immigration and Ethnic Affairs. So for Sir William Dean...
He's so proud, isn't he? Look at him. He's a wonderful man. His face just lights up.
And he will meet the traditional owners shortly, and the flame... The torch will be lit from this flame, and Sir William Dean will be part of that ceremony as it's handed over to Nova Peresneva.
As Michael Knight, the Olympics Minister, he was telling me yesterday, Bruce, it wasn't an easy... Well, it was an easy decision to choose to come here, but it wasn't an easy thing to try to convince the people, because, rightly, I suppose, they were sceptical about the commercialisation of it, and this is a very spiritual, very sacred place, and they were concerned about being invaded by so many people and perhaps being captive to a lot of commercial pressures. But all of those things have been worked out. As you said before, we're about to see the Governor-General hand it to traditional owners, which just sort of makes the day even more significant.
4 years of negotiations, and when you think that this is the only place we should be today, I mean, it's just so appropriate being here this morning.
No other place, it's so obvious, isn't it?
It is.
No other place would have been quite the same.
I think it's the international symbol of Australia, isn't it? It's certainly the Sydney Bridge and the Opera House, but this is the international symbol of Australia. It's a treasure, it's a wonder, and I mean, when you arrive here, you just think of the history and
the smiles on people's faces. Look at them; they're just clamouring to get a look at it and share in that spirit. It really begins today, doesn't it, Bruce? I mean, it's been a long time. Think back to when Sydney was first awarded the game, such a long time ago. And I know
7 years ago in Monaco, yeah.
I know that at Channel 7 we've ticked off each day on the calendar as we've gotten closer and closer to it, but now it really does begin for everyone in Australia, 100 days to go.
So we're at Ayers Rock Airport, or Canellan Airport, near Uluru Resort at the moment, and the flame and its backups will come in a convoy with Sir William and Lady Dean, and they'll make their way out onto the Lassiter Highway and come out to the Sunset Viewing Area where we are, and where so many dignitaries are, Olympians and former Olympians, and the security people now take charge of the flame, and it'll make its way, and it'll be a few minutes before it gets out to here, and in that time we hope to be speaking to Nova Peresneva and a couple of other people. But
well, we should be able to have a look at a moment at the route it'll be taking as it crisscrosses around Australia, about 27,000 kilometres it'll be travelling.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to run the whole way. I'm glad 10,000 other people are sharing in the journey.
So that's the big picture. That's Uluru to Sydney over 100 days, but as we said, it gets within 1 hour's drive of 85% of Australia's population. So here we are today, Canellan Airport, Ayers Rock Airport, on its way to the sunset viewing area where we're sitting down at the moment.
You can see the circle around Uluru, and there's a little bit larger there now. As you said before, it's not a short trip at all. It's quite a run around there, and I'd imagine Nova will be soaking up every single step, won't you? It'll be the slowest run Nova's ever done.
I'm sure. And then to Alice Springs this afternoon and tonight.
We'll be in Alice Springs
tonight. It'll be hosted from there and
bring the program from there tonight. Probably coinciding with the arrival of the torch, which will be
Mount Isa is the first spot in Queensland. It's in Queensland for about 19 days and goes via Brisbane all the way up to Thursday Island. So it's a long journey, and then back into the Northern Territory. We get to Katherine and to Darwin, Kununurra, and then over to Broome, and then down the coast of Western Australia, then south of Perth, and then Albany and back to Perth.
Isn't it, Bruce? You know, so many people live in the capital cities in Australia, yet 65% of the time it'll be travelling around the rural area. So the people who perhaps can't get down to Sydney to be part of the Games can actually share in it.
Takes the Indian Pacific train to Port Augusta, the first stop in South Australia, then works its way through South Australia, then into Portland, an historic town in Victoria. And won't the Melbourneites be excited when it goes around the Melbourne Cricket Ground? You know, the host city in 1956, down to Devonport and into Tassie. That's August the 1st that we're into Tasmania, and it's there for 5 days, and then makes its way back to Victoria. And then the first stop is to Albury in New South Wales.
Yeah, it's actually running through my hometown of Griffith too in southwest New South Wales, which would be a wonderful treat for them.
Yep. Into Canberra, the ACT, and then into Sydney. They're the Uluru brothers and sisters. Reggie, whose father Paddy was really the original traditional owner, his brothers and his son here today. So they're waiting, as we are waiting, as you are waiting, and we won't be far away from the convoy reaching where Nova Peris Kneebone will make this historic journey.